Hey, party people. Good morning, it's Cliff. Oh, doing all right, I suppose. Just enjoying a little drive to work on my last week of work at this place. Friday will be the last day. No, that's something. I went to the grocery store yesterday, and it's not talking about prices. Prices are always going up. But I was happening to walking into the grocery store, and there is, I guess, a father and sort of his teenage son. And the father points to his son's neck, and he's like, "Hey, look at this. Looks good, right? Looks good." And around the son's neck was a chain, bright and shiny silver chain. I'm like, "Look good," you know. And he was like, "Oh, looks good, right? Looks good." And yeah, looks good, and I look at the kid, young kid, spriteful, young, up and coming, all that stuff. Like, I think he was wearing like a shiny watch to match, and like, all the jewelry and everything, and I think the dad was wearing the same. And I'm like, all right, yeah, like, that's great, that's some cool stuff you got there. And then I said, whatever makes you happy, like, go ahead and get it. And then I couldn't help but think how much those damn things cost. And I'm sitting there to myself like, I don't want that. I don't want those things that cost a ridiculous amount that makes you look all cool. I want to get the things that, and I'm sitting there thinking like, oh, what kind of like life lessons could I like bestow on this kid? I'm just like, hey, that's cool. You can have all the shiny stuff, or you could take whatever money you spent on that and put it into some sort of brokerage account, and then you can make your money and get paid, so you don't have to work. But I look at that and I'm thinking, I don't want to buy stuff. I don't want to get stuff anymore. I just want to make enough money for me to make it, to do all right. Blow my nose, have enough Kleenexes to blow my nose, and call it a day. And if you're out there and you have a family or a kid or anything like that, and you encourage them to buy a Corolla GTR, this is a Corolla GTR 3, I think it's a GTR 3 or a something 3, I don't know. That was neat. But I just can't help but think that that kid's getting instilled into him a thought process of stuff makes you the person, that the stuff that the stuff that you do, the stuff that you acquire, makes you who you are. And that was his identity, and that was his definition of who he was as a person. And it was probably no more than 30 seconds. I went into the store, did my thing, and left, and just kept thinking about it. I'm like, if I could bestow a lesson onto him, I would say like, hey, look, that jewelry is cool, but sell it to somebody else, which is funny, because the person buying it, I would want them to sell it too, and then the round robin game. But I would say like, hey, sell that stuff, take that money, really like spend the next 10 years like working hard, building a business, bringing value to people, making sure that you can provide for yourself, for a future family if you want, that you don't have to talk to somebody like a boss that's horrible, who's done the opposite of you, who didn't buy the stuff, right? I mean, if you think about it this way, right? Your boss, like, and some bosses are great, some, like, people are normal, people are great, people are fine, some bosses are bad, some bosses are good. But you look at that and you look at your boss and you say, okay, well, if your boss is telling you what to do, then that means they have enough money to pay you what to do. And if they have enough money to pay you on what to do, that means that at some point in your boss's life, they made the decision to, open a business, start their own thing, save money, whatever they did. They didn't buy a gold, they didn't buy a gold chain and like all these like fancy things. Now maybe they did buy all those fancy things because, their businesses that they started out with earned them that. But, for the most part, now let's see, gas is at 6.09. Yeah, it's gonna keep on going up. I think that was $6 a gallon. It's funny. Oh well. But you see, it's like, you can. There's nothing wrong with buying cool stuff that makes you happy, but especially at a young age, like that one kid, I don't think that, or at least I know the deal is that, the Instagram and TikTok and YouTube, it all gets, everybody wants to be famous. Everybody wants to make their YouTube video. It's the same as me, same as anybody else, because you think that is the way to go, to be like a good, not necessarily a good person, but that's what success means, right? And I guess the other thing in life is that there's no end game. It just keeps going. You go and you have a successful TV show. Like I've been a part of several successful TV shows. You go there, you say, you high five, you say, a couple of words, you eat the hors d'oeuvres, and then, you hop out and you wake up on Monday, as the Monday is today, and you go back to work. It never ends. You can step away at any time, but the only way you're going to step away at any time is if you have enough money to do so, or if you spent the last 10 to 15 years building yourself up to be a useful and valuable member of society, and the value that society gives you is what's going to allow you to step away, or at least participate in society to do whatever you want to do. Consequences be damned. And it's one of those things where, like, yeah, you could be, out here in Hollywood, I've always had this thing where it's like the longer you're out here, the more chances that something popular is, something is going to happen to you. And I mean, like, something that's going to be like positive. You're going to get onto a TV show, you're going to work with some good people, you're going to be in a film. If you're an actor and you want to come out here in Hollywood, you can make it. There's not enough good quality actors out here to satisfy all the different roles that are out here. The only problem is, and maybe not a problem, is that the longer, you need money. And if you have a source of income where you don't have to work, where you don't have to spend your own time in earning, then that's when you can stem the tide. And actors who are young and bright, and the classic story of I'm waiting tables and going after my acting career. Well, if you developed like some sort of business or some sort of automatic thing, or spent the money, instead of on that jewelry like that kid did, you spent the money on like putting it into some sort of like investment account or a REIT or something, then you could come out here and basically be like, all right, well, my investments are making about $300 a month, $400 a month, and I can survive a little bit longer. So that way, when the opportunity does come up, if you want to be an actor in Hollywood, then you're not struggling, you're not stressing. And that's the make or break it with this industry is, if you make enough money, you can survive the downtimes. And quite honestly, right now we're in a downtime. like in our year of 2026. It is not looking good out there. There's still a whole bunch of stuff being made, still a whole bunch of movies coming out, but everything's going down for the moment until these big old purchases get taken care of, like with Paramount and Warner Brothers, and some of the states are suing to try to block it. Who knows what's going to happen? But it's the same story with like you've heard the stories of like the big NFL or the football players or the soccer players or the the young kids who are they just turned 18, 19, 20 years old, and then they can't, and then they get like their first $5, $6, $7, $8 million contract, $30 million contract, to play sports or whatever. And then they go out and they do the things. They buy all the jewelry, they buy all the cars, they buy the things. And then, Shaquille O'Neal has a very good story about his up and coming, talking about how his parents, like when he got his first contract, playing basketball or whatever, let's see here, like, he bought like his family and he bought like his dad, his mom, like these cars, and like by the end of week one, he tells the story obviously a lot more eloquently than I could, but the gist of it is that he had so much money and he spent half of it, and then he realized like, oh, he needs a financial advisor. He needs people that understand the economics and the mechanisms of the world that we live in to be like, hey, you need to calm down. Because, the next game you play, you might break a leg. The next game you play, you might get a concussion. You're out. And then that first, like, $6 million, $7 million contract is the only thing you have to live for the rest of your life. Now, granted, in the grand scheme of things, like, even having, as a normal person, even having, like, $200,000 or $300,000 or $400,000 is more than enough to to live a nice and healthy, comfortable life. Not glamorous, not amazing, but comfortable. And it saddens me all the time. I see all these stories about these kids, just like that kid at the grocery store. It's gonna sadden me if I see him and he doesn't make those good financial decisions. He's gonna be working for the next 50 years. And maybe that's the thing, right? Like, all right, do you want that cool chain right now? Do you want to get that Mercedes-Benz right now as a young kid? Do you want to get all that stuff right now? Well, then you're going to be working for the next 50 years. So do you want to be working for the next 50 years, or do you want that, like, gold chain right now? That's my lesson to you. Because 50 years is a fucking long time. It's a long time to be working. I don't want to be working for 50 years. I'm not even 50 years old yet. I don't even want to be working for that. But if you fuck up, and if you, like, screw up, and you want to buy all the shiny things, and don't get me wrong, I wanted to buy all the shiny things too, and I think that there needs to be a mentor in all of this space, and a financial mentor who's going to basically be like, hey, don't buy that shit. You don't need it, because there's always going to be the next iPhone. There's always going to be the next, BMW M8 or whatever it is. There's always going to be like the next Mercedes. There's always going to be the next movie, that comes out, the next project, like the next thing. You can literally, like, stop doing anything for 10 years. Just isolate yourself for 10 years. And then come back and you'll be, and it's all the same shit. It's all the same stuff, right? The baby powder's there, the cereal's in the grocery store. The meat, the meat's in the, all the regular food is still the same. There might be a whole bunch of new movies. There might be a whole different versions of new cars, but everything's exactly the same. So, make the smart decision. You don't, like, and that's why I say live like nobody else will, so you can live like nobody else can. And if you live like nobody else will, which is, you don't buy the shit, you don't buy the stuff, you spend, you don't go on that vacation if you don't have any money. You don't do all the things that normal society does. Then at the point you reach, like, when you're middle-aged or even earlier, you know, in your 30s and your 40s, you're able to live like nobody else could, because, you know, those are the folks that, you know, delayed gratification is another like phrase for it. But anyway, I'm getting close to work, and I just feel for that kid with the chain a little bit. But it's not my decision. It's not my decision to figure out what you want either. But I'll tell you, it's either you could buy that, or you could spend all that money, like that fancy stuff right now, or you can work for 50 years and have that fancy stuff. You know, so you make the choice. But I hope you choose to have a good day and to be safe out there and all that. Subscribe and whatever, I don't care. But yeah, that's it. I'll see you next time. Bye now.